So Tyson, we're doing something a little bit different this Monday night. We did some showdown shows for our members only. We're looking at a 2-game slate for what looks like a pretty decent contest here on Draftkings. So not normally what we're doing, but I do like that we've already got a special show 2 weeks into the season, or in week 2.
Yeah, this is a main slate format type show, but only 2 games, so we can kind of use some of the similar, how we dive deep for those those 2 Monday night football shows we did for Showdown. We can use a lot of that strategy in a 2-game slate here. Let's get into this. Welcome to the Edge DFS. My name is Tyson Smith, joined by Ellie Hernandez. Ellie, it is Sunday around 5 p.m. right now. We're recording this, and we'll probably be releasing this first thing Monday morning. But we got a bunch of interesting games that we're trying to keep track of right now. There's only, 3 games going on in the afternoon, so we figured we'd just bust this one out right now before the Sunday night football game. But how's your Sunday going so far, man?
It's going pretty well, man. I spent a little bit of time with family so that I could spend the afternoon watching football. So it's been working out. The dog got out of the yard again, so we've been doing some yard work trying to cover up a hole.
Did you get her back?
Yeah, he's fine, man.
Oh, he's fine. Okay.
He just goes and run around the neighborhood and then comes back.
All right, let's look at a first look here. So, like we said at the beginning, we do have an individual show for each one of these games for Showdown. If you guys want to see that, that's for our members, our YouTube members. If you just click down below, there's a join button there. It's $3.99 a month. You'll get an exclusive Monday night show every week, and this week you got 2 of them, so that was kind of cool. But it's really nice to have gone super deep into those breakdowns, and then to just to jump back into a 2-game slate. As we were focusing on some of these like backup players, and in a 2-game slate, I feel like you could really utilize some of that strategy as well. As you can see here, so let's just talk about the matchups here. The doubleheader Monday night, the first game's at 7:15 Eastern, the second game's at 8:15 Eastern. New Orleans Saints going into Carolina against the Panthers. The Saints are -3 favorites, and that's a 39.5 point total. The Browns, I believe this has gone down. We did when we recorded this show yesterday, Amari Cooper was probably going to be out, but it wasn't official, and now that is official. So you've seen a little bit of line movement here. So the Browns going into Pittsburgh, Browns are -2 road favorites, and this is a 38.5 point total. So, dude, this is obviously clearly set up to be a run attack, low scoring game. Field goal kickers and defenses are in play, and for both of these games. So I feel like that's where the field's going to go, and that's obviously where it should go. But I think we got a couple different options here. If you're playing large field tournaments, if you're playing this big Millie Maker tournament or any of the 20 maxes or whatever that are going on tonight, there's probably about 200,000 lineups in there. So you're going to have to flip the script a little bit and get a little bit different. But still, you still want to have that high upside and don't want to just put out trash lineups. So how do we do that, man? Like, I think the best players are clearly some of these running backs and some of these defenses. There's some good offensive skill going on here, but the quarterbacks, we have to play one quarterback. So what's going to be our strategy here? Like, how heavy are you getting on stacks? Do you care necessarily about correlation? Are you getting like a 4-stack with a run back, or like, does it kind of just depend on the lineups? It's just interesting with 2-game slates. How are you going to treat this?
Yeah, I mean, I think you can get a little bit more creative instead of just like locking in 3-1 like you would on a 10-game slate for NFL Sunday. Like, I think you can, get crazy, go 3-2, 2-2, things like that if you really want to focus on stacking. But like, you're going to be forced to stack one way or another. So like, just be mindful of what you're doing on a 2-gamer. But like, if we're just looking at this, I think it's kind of, I think it's kind of clear what the field's going to tend to do. I mean, the Saints still, we have Jamal Williams. It's likely going to be the guy who's going to get all the volume there. And I think that Saints Panthers game is kind of expected to be a little bit more competitive. So I think more people are going to lean towards stacking that game a little bit heavier. And then the Browns Steelers maybe taking one-offs and Nick Chubb plus the Browns defense. So what are we going to do differently to, it's a big contest, right? So what is there, Millie Maker Monday night?
Yeah, 200,000 entries.
So, for two games, you got to try and figure out what the chalk is and find different ways to be different while not getting too crazy.
All right, let's get into injuries. Let's start over here with New Orleans versus Carolina. DJ Chark is questionable. He did fully practice. It seems, based on our show that we did, it seems like he's probably going to play. J.C. Horn is out, the cornerback. He was the 8th overall pick in 2021. He's out for Carolina, so that hurts their defense for sure. Kendre Miller is the biggest guy to talk about here. He did practice, but he is questionable with a hamstring injury. That kind of changes the amount of volume I think that Jamal Williams gets. Obviously, Kamara's out, and Jamal Williams has been getting fed like crazy. So if Kendre Miller is back in, I think that does kind of split up the snaps a little bit, and I think you can think about playing Kendre Miller. But if he's out, Tony Jones is going to get 15 to 20% of the snaps or something. So I think it helps Jamal Williams more, obviously, if Kendre Miller's out. If Kendre Miller's in, we got to kind of talk about what we want to do with him. I think that's it for injuries here. Obviously, you're seeing a ton with Jamal Williams. He had 49 of 65 snaps, 75% of the snaps. And he was also kind of getting involved in the pass game, which is kind of a big deal. Even though he didn't score a touchdown, he kind of busted as chalk. I think it was, I think he still had a lot of volume. So let's go to the Cleveland-Pittsburgh game when it comes to injuries. So the biggest news is Deontay Johnson is obviously out for the Steelers. He's going to be out a few weeks. And even George Pickens showed up on the injury report, I believe with a hamstring injury. So that's kind of worrisome because now Pickens is the guy. Deontay's out. The pricing didn't really reflect that. I mean, Pickens was priced more than Deontay. But I think as we get to, Allen Robinson and Calvin Austin, those prices are going to be affected, and they're going to be underpriced considering the news. Amari Cooper, as of now, has been pretty much ruled out. When we recorded the show last night, it was like, he's probably not. He has a groin injury. So even if he was active, I wasn't going to play him injury anyways, because he's just not going to be effective based off the fact that he's a great route runner, and you probably need a little bit of a groin, and you need to push off on that groin in order to be that good. So what jumps out to you, man? Like when it comes to those injuries, there's a lot of value that we can be looking at here. But generally speaking, we've got a lot of running backs we need to get to. There's some value for Cleveland in the backfield that we need to talk about if we're interested in them or not. So what jumps out to you with injuries?
The biggest piece is just obviously if Kendre Miller is going to play. I think it probably helps Jamal Williams, to be honest, if he comes back. Kendre Miller is an actual running back. Tony Jones has been a bubble guy for a while. So Jamal Williams wasn't meant to be the lead back. So I just think that probably helps secure his place and just helps get him a breather. I don't know, man. I think it helps him. Cleveland, Pittsburgh, the injuries that we have there, Amari Cooper is obviously going to open up some value on the Cleveland side. But again, I think you can just go a little bit more stacking that offense now with Amari Cooper out. I think most people are probably going to play Chubb and maybe Donovan Peoples-Jones or Eli Moore again, and just kind of take one or two players from this side and not necessarily go too heavy on it. But I think it's a decent game to kind of attack a little bit here for GPPs.
And I didn't mention that Anthony McFarland has also been ruled out. So that is also, you can expect maybe a few more snaps for Jaylen Warren, especially in the pass game when it comes to that. All right, let's get to our breakdown here, dude. We're going to go position by position. We're going to talk about all our favorite plays and break it down from there. And then we'll get into some value. We'll build some lineups, and then we'll wrap this up. Let's do it. Break it down. All right, so let's start with quarterback here, dude. I'm going to sort by salary. Excuse me. Deshaun Watson, 6,400. Derek Carr, 6K. Bryce Young, 5,600. Kenny Pickett, 5,400. Now, Kenny Pickett got absolutely shut down by San Francisco last week. We all remember that. Derek Carr didn't look too hot. He still threw for 300 yards and a touchdown. So to me, a guy like Derek Carr in this game feels like a pretty good option going up against Carolina. The only issue here is that New Orleans offensive line. They were not good against the pass rush, and so to me that really worries me. And even Pittsburgh as well. They were really not good against the pass rush, getting some really bad PFF grades. So the matchups to me are something to focus on. I think Carolina, if they can get pressure on Carr, that can really change the entire landscape of this game. But if they can't, I think that New Orleans has a pretty clear, especially with their offensive abilities and their offensive players like Olave and guys like that. I think Derek Carr in New Orleans has a pretty clear path. But if Carolina can get to him, that might mean that Carr is going to make some mistakes and give up some sacks. So what are you thinking here when it comes to these quarterbacks? Who's your favorite? You got a guy that you're not super interested in? It feels like Kenny Pickett. I know we really were high on him this season in best ball. I think that, maybe he'll recover. It's just maybe going to take him some time because this is just not a good matchup for him.
Yeah, man. So, Derek Carr is probably my favorite. I think I'll probably prioritize him mostly in cash and all the healthy exposure in GPPs. But and then Deshaun Watson again, I think is pretty interesting as well. You're going to be able to get him, Nick Chubb, and then maybe Eli, DPJ. There's options to go in that offense. And again, we talked about it a little bit more on the Showdown show, but I don't think that his performance last week was as bad as everybody is talking about, made it seem. It's week 1 and it was shitty weather. So I think this is a good opportunity for him. Pittsburgh's defense, like his secondary is being anchored by Patrick Peterson. Like that's not a good thing. So yeah, man, I think Deshaun Watson's fine. I don't know how much Kenny Pickett that I want in Showdown, but I think getting a little bit of him and Young is actually okay because again, I just don't know that people are going to be playing them in the two games slate. I don't know. Do you want to chop the Millie 450 ways or whatever? That's how these are set up to be. If you're not willing to play guys like Bryce Young, Kenny Pickett, and probably still leave a little bit of salary on the table. So, yeah, man, I'm fine with them. I'm just not going to play them in Showdown probably all that much.
If you truly think that both of these games are going to hit that under 40 points ish range, well, I think that the rushing quarterback just adds such more of a dominant element with a guy like Deshaun Watson. If he can rush for a touchdown in this game and the other games are relatively low scoring and there's not super high pass amounts, man, he just has such a bigger high upside. And he's only 6,400. None of these guys are really super high priced. So I think you got to spread out. I think for tournaments, I think you go heavy Derek Carr pass game script in that game. I think that's what you focus on. For if you're doing single entry or smaller field tournaments, or even head to heads or whatever, I do think that the run attacks from all these teams we're gonna have to focus on. So let's get to that. So I can just do that now. All right. So Nick Chubb's 8,500. He was dominating last week. He's probably gonna dominate again in this game. Najee Harris, 6,200. Jamal Williams, 6K. He's going to have, like I said, if Kendra Miller's active, okay, he's still the lead guy. He's still going to get a ton of action. But maybe we see less out of him out of the pass game maybe, or maybe we see 60 to 65% of the snaps this week. I don't think it makes a huge difference, but it does make a difference. He's 6K. I think he's going to be super popular. Everybody's going to play him because he's like the number one option on a team that is favored and in a low total game. Miles Sanders, 5,700. He played well last week. He got involved. He got involved in the pass game. Chuba Hubbard didn't get involved as much, but I think he had 6 yards per carry or something crazy like that. He's 5K. A guy that I'm going to be over the field on is Jaylen Warren at 4,800. He's cheap. He gets involved in the pass game, and he's a guy that really can have a ceiling output. If you chose to be under the field on Najee Harris, well, I think you got to be over the field on Jaylen Warren. Tony Jones, not really worth mentioning. Jerome Ford here is the guy that's kind of interesting. He didn't have an efficient game last week. He came in and he got a majority. I think he got most of his snaps in the fourth quarter after the game was out of reach. He had a fumble. He didn't really look too great. But look, he's $4,400. He's the number 2 guy. I don't think he's, we're realizing really quickly that this backup Cleveland running back position is not like it used to be. I think that Nick Chubb is getting involved more in the pass game. This isn't just a 1v1 Kareem Hunt is now, or Jerome Ford is now Kareem Hunt. It doesn't really work that way. But 4,400 is interesting for him. But for Showdown, he's $400, and that's a lot more appealing for a guy like Jerome Ford. At 4,400, I just pay up 400 more bucks and get Jalen Warren. I'm doing that all the time. So thoughts on these running backs?
Yeah, man, I think you covered most of it. I think Nick Chubb's probably my favorite. Not going to get much exposure to Najee Harris. Jamal Williams, probably GPP. Miles Sanders is fine. I think he's going to be pretty popular. So in those lineups where you have him, I think you got to get a little bit creative there too. But Jalen Warren's probably my favorite play. Outside of that, I don't know if I'm going to get much exposure to anyone else.
I mean, I think all these running backs are in play. Like, the biggest question is, okay, I love Nick Chubb. I love Jamal Williams. Do I put Jalen Warren in the flex? Do I put Miles Sanders in the flex? I think that's fine. In my opinion, like I said earlier, if you're in bigger tournaments, maybe you don't throw a third running back in and you play the passing game script a little bit more. But I think for cash and single entry, you probably want to get Chubb, Williams, and maybe even Miles Sanders with his pass catching ability and the amount that he's on the field. But you also have to think about Chuba Hubbard. He can steal some goal line opportunities from Sanders. But look, these guys are all relatively cheap. Nick Chubb, I think, is a lock. As much as he can be on a slate like this, he's going to be high owned. But I don't care. That's fine. Get different in other ways besides not playing Nick Chubb. Kendry Miller is 4,400. I'm much more interested in Kendry Miller than I am Jerome Ford on this slate, if Kendry Miller obviously is active. All right, let's go to wide receivers. Chris Olave is 7,200. Amari Cooper is out. So let me just uncheck him so we don't get confused. He is out. Michael Thomas, 5,500. George Pickens, 5,400. You got Deontay Johnson is out. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about these two important wide receivers in these games that are both out. Amari Cooper being out, who does that benefit the most? Who are you bumping up? Does Donovan Peoples-Jones now move up to getting more snaps into that role? Who are we boosting in this situation for Cleveland?
Yeah, man, I think DPJ is one of the obvious guys. I think Elijah Moore is just going to be a guy who's going to get his touches either way. But DPJ is going to be the guy who's playing a true wide receiver, right? Elijah Moore is more of a joker. He's doing running back. He has designed runs. He's coming out of the slot, lining up wide. It doesn't matter. So Donovan Peoples-Jones can kind of be a close one-for-one replacement. And I really think it's just going to give him a pretty significant boost. And we talked a little bit about it on Showdown, but a guy that I am interested in is Marquise Goodwin. I mean, he has 2 targets on the season, and both are like 44 yards up the field. In the Millie, right? Like, you can't be scared to play a guy like that. There's probably going to be a lot better plays, but if you're doing 100 lineups or whatever, I don't mind getting several with him in there.
It seems like to me Elijah Moore is the better player option. I think he gets more looks, more opportunities. But Donovan Peoples-Jones is going to be on the field a lot. He's going to be playing wide. We saw last week Elijah Moore was in the slot 29 snaps, and he was wide 18 snaps. And it looks like Donovan Peoples-Jones was 22 in the slot and 44 wide. Maybe they just move him over and he's on the field all the time. Marquise Goodwin is coming back from an illness of some sort. I don't remember exactly what it is, but it looks like he's back. He's healthy. We know what he's capable of. He's a big play guy. So if you put him in, expect a 0, but you could also get 15 fantasy points out of him. All right, so now we covered the Browns. Let's talk about the Steelers. So Pickens is still a little beat up. And the thing about him is he doesn't have a very good matchup. This Cleveland secondary is good. The corners are good. And obviously, like I said before, if Pittsburgh doesn't have enough time to get the ball off, these guys are going to be absolutely affected. And George Pickens is we all joke about it. He's an 80-20 guy, not a 50-50. But he, like you were saying in the other show, dude, he doesn't get separation. That's why he has to make these kind of catches. So Pickens is 5,400. He's obviously a good option. But what about Allen Robinson? What about some of these other guys? Allen Robinson had a pretty good week last week. He got targeted quite a bit. And then Calvin Austin's 3,500, while Allen Robinson's 4,300. Who benefits the most? with Deontay out. Obviously Pickens, but besides that, I think a guy like Calvin Austin gets moved up to the outside while Allen Robinson sticks more in the slot. What do you think about these Steelers guys?
Deontay Johnson just absorbs so much volume that I think there's not a true 1-for-1 replacement. I think it just softens where the ball is going to go a little bit. I think Allen Robinson, Calvin Austin, George Pickens could all see 2-3 more targets per game, right? Like if I'm going to take a stab on anybody, it's probably going to be Calvin Austin just because of his price, and he is a guy, like he's what is he, a rookie? Like he's a guy that they want to get him involved in the offense. So like I think that he's a guy that I'm willing to take a shot on. And you got the slide up here, but Denzel Ward, he's going to be covering the number 1 receiver. So you're going to be opening up some different options there.
Yeah, and Greg Newsom's going to be on the slot guy, which is Allen Robinson most likely. So I just don't like the matchup for the Steelers. Do I think that they can have a pretty decent offense this year? Yes. I just don't see it happening in this game. All right, so who else is jumping out to you? We haven't talked about these New Orleans wide receivers. Chris Olave is a near lock to me. He got super involved. Michael Thomas at 5,500 is a great option as well. I think, like I said, getting New Orleans stacks, if they can stop this pass rush and actually have time to throw the ball, I think getting Olave and Michael Thomas together. Rashid is 4,200. We saw him have a touchdown and have some big targets. Dude, what do you think about these New Orleans guys? And then thoughts on the Carolina situation with Chark, Thielen, Mingo, Terrace Marshall, Laviska Shenault as like that joker position type. Who jumps out to you? I mean, nobody jumps out to me, because if you look at the passing prop for the quarterback here for Carolina, it's not looking too hot. I don't think they're going to have a lot of yards to go around from him.
Yeah, man. So Carolina, Terrace Marshall is probably a guy that I'm going to be taking stabs on. He's probably one of my favorite value plays for GPP as well. I don't know if you need to get as crazy and go to guys like Laviska Shenault, but Terrace Marshall is probably the guy that I'm looking for. I don't mind taking some stabs with Jonathan Mingo. But I don't know I'm going to be getting too much Adam Thielen or DJ Shark. Shark's expected to be on a pitch count. And then the Saints, the Saints are probably going to be one of the more consistent offenses outside of like Nick Chubb and the Browns run game on Monday night. So I think you can stack up that offense and feel free to get creative. Maybe it's Derek Carr, Jamal Williams, Michael Thomas, and Rashid Shaheed, and you fade Olave or something. I think that's something you can do, even if Derek Carr gets sacked 7 times. Like he can still easily throw for 350 yards. So if his pocket is collapsing, what's his one thing that he's able to do? Is throw a really good deep ball, and he has some pretty awesome receivers. So look, man, pocket collapses and he scrambles out. Like that's just perfect form for a defense to bust coverage, and a guy like Olave, Michael Thomas. Well, Olave or probably Shaheed. I don't know if Michael Thomas has the speed to bust a big one anymore, but you get my point.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's go to tight ends now. So Njoku's 4,700, Pat Freiermuth 4,500, Juwan Johnson 41, Hayden Hurst at 4K looked really good last week. Pairing him with a rookie quarterback is a pretty good option. I think that he's going to see some more work. Who's your favorite tight end here? Is there anybody on the low end that you'd be willing to just punt at here?
I don't know if I'll be punting with tight end. I think probably stick around Hayden Hurst or Juwan Johnson. Pat Freiermuth is 1 target, 3 yards on a touchdown. Like I don't know that that's going to be consistently what his output looks like, but I'm not paying 4,500 for him. Njoku at 4,700. Again, just not something that I'm really comfortable with. I think I just keep it between Juwan Johnson and Hayden Hurst. And Juwan Johnson mostly because I think Hayden Hurst would be chalky as hell, just because it's not comfortable paying for any of these guys.
Yeah, I think Njoku has this high upside. I think he's a good tournament option. He'll also be pretty popular, but a guy like Freiermuth, to me, doesn't have nearly as high of a ceiling in a low total game like this. I'd probably rather get Njoku. Look, Taysom Hill, we all know about his upside and his downside. He's $3,900. I'd probably just rather pay up for Hayden Hurst, but in tournaments, if you're going in this milli maker, Taysom Hill, we've seen his crazy spike weeks where he gets like 25 fantasy points, and you absolutely have to have him. And if he's the kind of guy that's going to pull this off in this game, you're probably going to need him at that price tag. But I think you just spread yourself out. For Showdown, Darnell Washington was an interesting option to me. He's 2,700 here. I don't know that I'm really interested in him at all, because they're going to need that blocking ability that he brings to the table. So he's going to be on the field more. But he's $2,700. In Showdown, he was 200. So I'm more interested to mess with him there. Jimmy Graham is bare minimum at 2,500. I don't really think he's going to get involved, but you'd have to get, let's say you get one touchdown out of him, and this is a very low total game. Maybe he's worth it, but I'm not really touching him. All right, let's go to defense here. So this is something we definitely want to talk about. This is both of these games are under 40 total. You have to expect there's going to be some sacks, some interceptions, maybe a pick six or a scoop and score, or maybe even like a punt return. We've seen that recently in the NFL. So I think you spread yourself out, but who's your favorite defense overall here? And thoughts on the Panthers as a GPP option in the bigger tournament as a defense that can shut down the Saints? And what do we do in a 2-game slate? What are we thinking about negative correlation? You can play players against your opposing defense, just maybe not the stack. I don't know. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I don't know why the Browns defense is only 3,300, right? I feel like they should probably be a little bit more expensive. Maybe not as much as the Saints, but look, Browns are probably my favorite overall play. And then second actually might be the Panthers. Excuse me, and I don't want to get too crazy with this. We'll see if it's needed when we get to lineup builds. But their price, they could easily end up with 6-7 sacks, still give up a decent amount of points, and pay off a 2,900 price tag. It's 6-7 sacks. That's a lot, but you grab that and a takeaway or two. That's 8 points, regardless of how many points you give up, and that might be enough. Obviously, the Browns being priced at 3,300 kind of impact that. If they have another win where they only give up 3 points, they default to a minimum of 7 or some shit. So that is worth considering. But Saints, Steelers, both in play. I don't know. Like, I never like paying up for defenses. But yeah, spread yourself out a little bit. I just think that if there's one that I had to pick to score, it would probably be the Panthers. I could easily see them having a fumble, scoop and score. Yeah,
the Panthers at 2,900. We'll find out when we start building if it's worth dropping down to them. If that $400 is going to make a break like a really good player or make us punt at another position. All right, let's look at some value here. Who's some of your favorite value options here? When it comes to, let's look at running back. Miles Sanders is grading out well. Jamal Williams and Nick Chubb, obviously. When it comes to lower value, Jaylen Warren at 4,800. I know he's not super cheap, but he's interesting. And like we talked about, Jerome Ford is an interesting option at 4,400, but we got to wait to see what happens. Maybe Kendre Miller will be available in this game, and he's the same price. I'd probably prefer him more. There's not a ton of value. There's a lot of mid-range guys. Like Miles Sanders at 5,700 just jumps out to me the most probably here, right? And then him and Jaylen Warren.
Yeah, Miles Sanders. Obviously, Jamal Williams is in a great spot, and he's only $6K. He's priced like somebody else is going to be there. And then Jaylen Warren at 4,800. Those are probably the guys that I'll have the most just kind of like rotating. But Nick Chubb will be probably my highest owned running back.
So what about the other side here, wide receivers? DPJ, Rashid Shaheed, Elijah Moore. Those guys are obviously filling in for injured players. DPJ and Elijah Moore are. When it comes to Allen Robinson and Calvin Austin, 4,300 for Robinson, Calvin Austin, 3,500. You probably have to say that Calvin Austin is probably one of your favorite guys around that price range, right? I mean, because I think he has a lot of high upside. They're going to involve him a little bit, maybe a little bit more this week. Maybe they choose to involve him because of just what a shit show it was for them last week. Who's your favorite value here for wide receivers?
I mean, it's probably Rashid Shaheed. I think that he's just so explosive. And I know it's easy to get caught up and touchdown last week. So people, you're like, oh, well, he's not going to have one this week. Not going to have 17 touchdowns, one every single week. But look, man, I like him. 4,200, he's easy to get to. Donovan Peoples-Jones, 3,700. These are obviously going to be kind of chalkier plays. Him and Eli Moore, especially because the Amari Cooper stuff. But I don't think you're far off. I like Calvin Austin. He's deeper GPP GPPs, we know that they're going to have to throw to somebody. Deontay Johnson is a target machine. Like, he's just a guy who's going to eat volume. So the ball's going somewhere else, and I hope it's not going to Najee Harris. I hope it goes to Warren or Calvin Austin.
If there's a guy that you had to, or that you just don't like in general, I wouldn't say fade because it just all depends on whether or not you're playing the large field tournaments or the smaller ones. Is there a guy that you're just like, nah, I'm not super interested in him based off of his price and ownership?
For this particular slate, the 2-gamer, it's Najee Harris. I'm really just not interested in him. For Showdown in that game, I want Kenny Pickett, which I stand by.
Yeah. All right, let's build some lineups together, dude. Let's start this off here and see how it works. All right, let's go over to DraftKings here. Like I said, this is a Millie Maker, 2.25 million total prize pool and about 132,000 entries. So I was wrong when I said 200,000, but it might as well be 200,000. Who do you want to start with here when it comes to quarterbacks? Oh yeah, you can't really see, but I could scroll down a little bit. That's my bad.
Let's just start with Carr.
All right, Derek Carr. Let's do our tournament New Orleans onslaught passing attack, right? So maybe we fade Jamal here. Or do you want to do the no Olave with Rashid and Juwan Johnson or something? I don't know. What do you think?
No, man, Olave and Rashid Shaheed. Like, if we're gonna do this, let's do it.
Where is Shaheed? Where are you, bro? There you are. All right. So, do we care about getting a run back? I mean, maybe a Miles Sanders run back is okay, but if I'm hand building, I'm not intentionally putting in any of these Carolina dudes. Maybe besides Miles Sanders. Right?
Yeah, no, I like Miles Sanders, and then I like Nick Chubb.
Yeah,
and then from here, I think we can kind of just fill it out.
Let's just put all those guys in. Now, do we want to grab? Yeah. We probably should grab value from. We can either get it from the Steelers game or Steelers team or the Browns. So, do we want to get Elijah Moore? Do we want to go super low here? Do you want to go DPJ? That's where a lot of our salary savings is going to come in here. Where are you thinking?
Yeah, let's start with DPJ.
All right, so 4,900 a pop. Do you want to go defense first and then fill the rest of this out?
Yep. You want to throw in Cleveland?
Let's put in Cleveland. And so we've got 11.4K across two positions, and one of them is not a very expensive position. So I think we got something to work with here. So we haven't really gotten any Pittsburgh. We've gotten to Chubb and DPJ for Cleveland. Is this like a Hayden Hurst situation? Is this do you want to go a 3 additional players on the Carr stack? What do you think?
I actually don't mind Hayden Hurst. And then what does that give us for maybe Pittsburgh?
$7,400, and we could get Najee Harris in the flex. You could go. I mean, you're gonna have a lot to leave over. I think let's max out the salary here. Let's go. You want to go Njoku here? Or maybe that's too many. 2 pass catchers for Cleveland without the quarterback. I don't think that's terrible on a slate like this, but we can get higher than Hurst. Let's go Freiermuth, maybe.
That's fine. And what does that give us for
6,900 for the last spot? So look, you could just go Hurst and then leave money on the table, and if you wanted to go, you could get Harris or Jamal Williams, or you can go down to Pickens if you wanted to get a wide receiver in that last spot. But probably in this situation, this is either Jamal Williams or Najee Harris. We have so much salary, dude. We have way too much salary.
Go from DPJ to Eli Moore.
All right, let's try that. DPJ, where are you, bro? Eli Moore, it's a little bit more expensive. 10.6K, we have 5,300.
Yeah, you want to throw back Hayden Hurst? I don't know.
Let's try it.
I kind of like that. And see what we can do.
Try Hayden Hurst, and that gives us 66 in the last spot. So that's a Michael Thomas situation. So we'd have another dude there. That's onslaught status, or George Pickens, which is probably a better option. So in this lineup, you got Carr, Miles Sanders, Nick Chubb, Olave, Shaheed, Pickens, Hurst, Elijah Moore, Browns defense. There's just so many options. We don't really need to worry a ton about salary with this slate. There's just so many ways to go, and there's a lot of value. One thing I wrote down that I wanted to bring up this flex position, you could play it from either game, either the first game or the second game, because the inactives, the games are so close together. We're going to know the inactives before lock. So there won't be any, you don't have to wait for that second game to put in the flex position. At least I don't think so. All right, where are we going now? You want to do like a different game script here? Do you want to do like a two unders hitting or what?
Let's build with Deshaun Watson. Like I think a unique build with Deshaun Watson. I think we can go like I want to do Watson, Chubb, and then one of his wide receivers. Like I kind of want to just do DPJ, to be honest with you.
All right, let's go DPJ.
And then like we can just start the run back with Jalen Warren.
Yeah,
like I don't mind. Like this is a good game stack that I would build around for that one.
Yeah. Exactly. We got plenty of salary to deal with. So let's start sniping from other games here. Olave, we can get him. We should probably do that. You got Michael Thomas. You got George Pickens. We can do whatever the hell we want. Do you want to get Jamal Williams in the flex here, or Sanders in the flex?
Let's do Jamal Williams.
Okay.
And then what? You want to go? Let's go with Saints defense, I guess.
Let's do that. Now, let's try to get... I mean, we can't really get... That's the thing here is these running backs, there's so many options. There's 4 dudes I want to play, maybe even 5. So if you're limited to 3 running backs, that's how you can maybe get different, is putting, like I said, putting a non-running back in the flex. We have a wide receiver... Go ahead.
Let's put in... can we build... Instead of Jamal Williams, let's put in Miles Sanders.
All right,
I do like that better. Like I know that's kind of negatively correlated here, but if there's going to be a guy that scores a touchdown in Carolina, I still think it's going to be Miles Sanders.
Yeah, and Miles Sanders gets 6 receptions for 50 yards and 1 rushing touchdown. There you go. All right, so we got 2 spots open here: tight end and wide receiver. We can do whatever the hell we want. We'll probably have salary left over. So, do you want to go Njoku here, or is that too much correlation for your Cleveland stack? Do you want to do that?
Yeah, go ahead. Actually, I'm kind of interested to see what we have left.
That feels right. 5,300. Yeah. Elijah Moore, Allen Robinson, Rashid Shaheed, Chark. I mean, you can do whatever the hell you want. Go all the way down to Calvin, leave a bunch of money on the table. This probably calls for a Robinson, right? Allen Robinson here to spread yourself out a little bit. We don't have George Pickens in this lineup, and we have to assume that one of these guys is going to catch passes for the Steelers. Or you could just go all out and go Elijah Moore here. You get 4, 5 Cleveland dudes, but you have 3 pass catchers and a running back. This is an onslaught build. This is a 27 to 14 game or 30 to 14 game in favor of Cleveland or something like that. Maybe that's too much. Or maybe, do you want to just go down from Njoku? You want Juwan Johnson here, maybe?
Throw in Pat Freiermuth.
Pat Freiermuth. So we've got Jalen Warren, Pat Freiermuth from the Steelers. That gives us whatever we want still. Mike Thomas. It's not bad, actually.
I actually like that a lot.
You could go Pickens, obviously, but Mike Thomas is an option. All right, let's build another one. Let's do, I don't know, what kind of game script do you want to throw out here? Do you want to just throw out something wild, like 2 shootouts or something? Or you want to assume that maybe Carolina's defense shut down New Orleans pass game?
Yeah, let's do that. So, I mean, you want to just start with Miles Sanders and then the Carolina defense?
Yeah, Miles Sanders, Carolina defense. It's a good way to start here. What's our quarterback situation here? You want to go Pickett? You want to go Watson? You want to just stick with our Watson?
Yeah, I think we go Watson and Chubb. Like we're fading Saints entirely, man. Like just throwing Chubb, yeah.
All right, now let's pick a pass catcher. So Elijah Moore, DPJ, any of these guys. I feel like you're going to get at least one of these Cleveland pass catchers in every lineup, and that includes Njoku. In addition to probably Nick Chubb. So let's put Elijah Moore in and see what happens.
Yeah,
we got unlimited amounts of salary. We can do whatever the hell we want. Where do we want to go now? Do we want another running back in that flex position? Do you want to go with another wide receiver?
So what do we think is happening with the Browns game? Is it going to be just an onslaught for Cleveland, or is it going to be kind of a close game? Hits the under.
Let's say close game, maybe it hovering right around that 40-point total. And this would probably be a situation where Deshaun Watson scores a rushing touchdown and he throws for a passing touchdown to Elijah Moore, and maybe Pittsburgh is playing from behind. So, a Calvin Austin situation here. I mean, we could afford anybody. We could afford Pickens if we wanted.
I kind of like Pickens here, man, to be honest with you.
Pickens, so Deshaun Watson, Sanders, Chubb, Elijah Moore, Pickens. We got 3 spots open with the Panthers defense. Where do you want to go here, dude? Like, no salary restrictions. Do we want? I know we talked about Carolina shutting down New Orleans, but somebody's got to catch passes for a team that's probably going to throw the ball like 30 plus times. So do we want to put Olave in?
Yeah, I think we do.
All right.
Go ahead and put him in.
So he's in. So now we got a flex and a tight end. Do you want to get the tight end first?
Yeah, I don't mind. Do you want to play Hayden Hurst here?
Let's try it.
It's a little weird, but I don't hate it.
Yeah. 5,400. So Chuba Hubbard even. Jalen Warren here. That's probably where I would go, dude. Jalen Warren, you get a massive game stack here with this Cleveland Pittsburgh game, and then you get a couple pieces from Carolina, including a correlated running back and defense. So I think there's just so many damn options, and with this 2-gamer. But we're gonna have to get a little different, and I think even just random things like who you're choosing to put in your flex could kind of affect your ownership and your roster construction overall. So where you going here, man? Like, after seeing all this stuff, what do you think is the best route if you're playing in these bigger, a big 20 max or even a big, even the big tournament? Where are you starting your builds when it comes to that?
I'm probably looking to eat some of the chalk, and you're gonna have to decide which one you want. You're gonna take Jamal Williams, you're gonna take Nick Chubb. Like, you're probably gonna have to get off of one of those guys to to be different. So I think you take Chubb and kind of also build around the passing offense there. That's where I'm starting, unless we get some weird news out of Cleveland.
Yeah. Keep an eye on any news, and obviously inactives. I'm not going to touch anything, even though we kind of know the general injury situation. There's still the Kendry Miller issue to talk about. Who's your low-owned guy that you think can score in this game?
Calvin Austin is my guy.
I'm gonna say, hang on, where did he go? I'm gonna say Jalen Warren is gonna be lower owned. I don't know. Would you consider him low owned in this game?
Yeah, I'm down.
That's fine. He's gonna get a score. All right, we appreciate you guys. Like I said, if you guys want to see those individual showdown slate breakdowns, 2 videos, click that join button down below. Throw us a like on this video. We appreciate it. We've been grinding hard this week. We appreciate all of the support and all the views that we've been getting. Throw us a subscribe on the way out, and join that Discord. That's kind of a big deal, especially when it comes to getting news that we don't talk about in these shows. All right, we will see you guys for the Week 3 first look that will release on Tuesday morning. We'll see you guys later.